Nice to meet you.
Great to meet you.
I'm Pearson, and I came across you on LinkedIn when you shouted out Jellypod with your weekly AI intelligence podcast. So, I
That's the one.
mean, that how's it going? I mean,
Yeah, really well. Yeah. No, thanks, Pearson, for having me on. And yeah, it's really great to meet you as well. And yeah, hear about Jellypod's success. Yeah, LinkedIn came about through something I've just been trying to build over the years is as use cases for practical AI for businesses. We we basically decided to set up an AI agent to really go and look through, I suppose, a really customized prompt about the things we want to listen to on the way into work once a week and give a bit of a summary. And there was nothing out there. There's some great podcasts that cover AI, like we all listen to, no doubt, across the world. Yeah, just decided to build an AI agent and then seamlessly put it into Jellypod.
it's so cool. I mean, when I saw your post about Manus using Manus to go out onto the internet, search the information, pull it back into Jellypod, I was like, that's sweet because that's like one of those core things that hopefully we could build directly in, and we've started to do that. I don't know if you saw this past
Awesome.
week with Deep Search, but I would love just to know a little bit more about you, like who you are, your backstory, AI, what like all of the above. It'd be super interesting.
Yeah. No, yeah. So I've been in the game of tech for about 25 years. I've been a founder and done multiple exits myself. I've been a VC. I've raised two funds. I've deployed into AI companies, across Australia. I'm Australian based, but I've had global businesses, and I suppose, for the first sort of 20 odd years, I did. I was a digital agency founder. So in the first incarnation in the late 90s, built those web design companies that were around and survived the dot-com crash and all that sort of thing, and then really accelerated an exit to an Australian listed company. So we call it the ASX here. It's a bit like the NASDAQ and things like that. So basically we exited in 2006, and then I set up one of Australia's first SEO companies. And so I set out my 2 year restraint period, and then the day after that finished, I launched Reload. And then I sold Reload 3 years ago, and that had nearly 100 staff in four countries. And so apart from Australia being the head office, the next largest office was in London, and we had some pretty awesome clients. We had over 300 clients, nearly 100 staff. I exited that company. It was time to hand over, and then basically from about 2016, I started to get into the VC space, and it was fairly nascent still in Australia. Like it's been happening, of course, in San Fran and across the US for quite some time, but the early funds like Blackbird and Airtree sort of kicked off here with their Canva investments, around that 2011, 2013 sort of time. And by about 2016, 2017, I decided to dive headlong into it. I wanted to get into investment, and so I became an entrepreneur in residence for one of the largest accelerator programs in Australia called Mirror D. And I was an EIR there, so that's how you cut your teeth on those 6 month programs and learn how to deploy capital and learn the highs and lows and the risk profile of portfolio management. And then in 2019 decided to set up our own early stage, early seed, pre-seed and seed sort of investment funds called Sprint, and that's Sprint.vc. And so yeah, we've got two funds. We've deployed into 19 companies, and some are starting to really kick goals globally. And so I suppose from about 2017, I really started looking very closely at AI. And AI's been around for 40, 50 years, but really what I was very interested in was how you can actually create and build a business of the future and basically deploy that tech and deploy that thought and that strategy of AI and how actually you can use it. And whether it's actually AI, automation, or workflow is another question, but into businesses, because the engine room of the Australian economy is the small and medium businesses, and they power the economy here, and no doubt throughout the States and throughout Europe. Yeah, so been doing AI, looking at AI. I started building on IBM Watson in 2019. We tried to build an HR platform, and it just wasn't GPT. It was nothing like we've been blessed with since late 2022. So, basically we started building it. You had to, cut your teeth on those sort of LLMs or supposed LLMs. And we got cracking in 2019. And then we've morphed most recently into I suppose another agency, my third agency, called Advancer. And Advancer's slogan is the AI agency. And we want to sort of go back to the future. We really want to go back to the future. And what I did, 20 years ago is offer great web solutions, but offer, great AI solutions to companies and clients that really are sort of interested but struggling with their AI strategy. And here we are today.
That's wow. I mean, cool story. I mean, 20 plus years in the industry. That's multiple exits. That's awesome. I mean, you're the place I'd like to be, many years from now. It's super cool. But
Good
yeah.
sign.
So, yeah, and it's funny what you said. I mean, about like AI, like everyone wants to get into AI, and it's like 40, 50 years ago AI was like a thing. It's always been the thing. It's always been like, what's the cutting edge? So what's like the most technically advanced software? And right now it's LLMs, it's video gen, it's audio gen. It's like that's what's AI. 20 years
Yeah.
ago AI meant something completely different. And like, I don't know, it excites me to be like, okay, what's AI going to be 10 years from now, 15 years from now?
Totally.
It's wild. But yeah, I mean, I just wanted to hear a little bit also about, how'd you find Jellypod? What are you creating on the platform? And what do you like most about what we're doing? Yeah, it'd be super
Yeah, I
helpful.
love Jellypod. I've been telling everybody about it. It's going
Thank you.
into our tool stack, our sort of half two. We do a H1 and an H2 calendar year tool stack, and you can find that on the Advancer LinkedIn page. And basically, Jellypod's going to be featured on that, just coming soon for the back half of 2025. But yeah, we look at tools, how they can apply, and we get often asked by customers and clients. I've got this great platform, this great AI. My mate at a barbecue recommended this one. Should I use it? And often we sort of say, look, just hold until we can get a strategy out. How does it impact your business? Is it truly AI? And is it actually going to be meaningful in the journey? Jellypod came about by a referral, actually. Jellypod's getting a great name in the Australian startup scene, for being an easy entry, build a podcast. It's very quick and easy. And I was referred through those networks. I actually think it was through a LinkedIn post, and someone said, hey, use Jellypod. And it might have even been a guy called Dan that is pretty innovative VC himself. And so in those VC circles, those startup circles, those investment circles, Jellypod's got a good frame. And so I then basically have been meaning for the last couple of years to build a podcast. I've done a lot of speaking, a lot of presentations. I've actually, done a bit of TV when TV was hot 10 years ago. And I actually think the future is 7 to 10 minute snippets, like a bit like YouTube snippets and, the TikTok generation where attention is a lot more limited. I actually think that AI has a great role to play in that. And so, I just thought I'd come up with my thesis that's been sort of, bubbling around. And that was, I use Manus as my sort of, my research PA, my MBA level research analyst. And I've sort of built an agent inside Manus. And I use another tool called promptcowboy.ai, and Prompt Cowboy allows me to take a prompt and make it supercharged. And then I put that into Manus. I asked Manus to actually say, build me a podcast and build me a MailChimp actually script as well. But I haven't actually got around to that one because the Jellypod podcast one takes over. And so, every Monday morning now at 5:30 a.m., it basically goes through that prompt, which I asked it to actually correct its own prompt and build its own prompt from my Prompt Cowboy AI prompt. And basically, it's automated. It just comes in, it says, here it is. I literally copy and paste into a new episode in Jellypod. I hit generate audio. I go through, and being an Australian, I've cloned my own voice for 60 seconds. I probably need to go back and do it a bit deeper and do it more professionally, but I'm too busy at the moment with, everything that's going on. And it's fine. I might sound a bit British, but that's cool with me. But I invented another guy called Ollie Carter, and Ollie is ex-VC. He's about 35. He's sort of a tech guy, and Ollie Carter was fully AI and invented by me as well. And I just chose one of the cool voices inside Jellypod, and that just works beautifully. It's like this young guy, this older, boomer, I think you guys call us, like just sort of riffing and going through, everything, and it actually it comes across really well, and the feedback's been awesome from different people, from 22-year-olds right through to 50 plus. People have gone, that sounds very close, and it just gives me that insight of what happened last week. The one thing we do is I edit out mate. In Australia, we say mate a lot. How you going, mate? A mate is a friend. I go through and I probably edit about 8 maybe 6 to 8 every episode. I take them out, and that allows us to, and I can just regenerate the audio just on the fly on the right there, and away we go. So, and then I publish it automatically to Spotify. It takes about, a couple of minutes. And now I've actually got my own subdomain, podcast.advancer.com.au, and I push that out as well. One little reason why we're doing this, Pearson, is because I'm an SEOer, and once you do search engine optimization, you're always an SEOer. And I'm sure people who hear this would understand that. There's a new thing called GEO coming, and that's Generative Engine Optimization. And that is what Google will be sort of looking at, and all those search volumes that are starting to be affected. And the jury's out on that in terms of what's going to happen in the next few years with the Google search, because it's such a lucrative part of their business. But GEO needs transcripts, and search as a paradigm needs great content. It also needs links, of course, that are authoritative. When you do the transcripts on the podcast Jellypod feature, and you do that subdomain, you're activating it inside your own domain. And if you go through that, you can actually activate the transcript feature in Jellypod. Every part of that is indexable GEO content. And so it's not just SEO, it's actually great. And if it ties into AI, then the ChatGPTs of the world, etc., might actually use that. And then to be quite honest, I'm actually getting clients that are choosing us because we rank highly in ChatGPT, not in search. So there's a bit of an overview about how we constructed it.
No, that's super interesting. The generative engine optimization stuff, that's something I think it's on the top of the mind of everybody. And so many people have asked me. I remember when we first launched, actually, Jellypod, like the custom websites wasn't a thing. Like we just gave you the podcast, and then we said, hey, let's give everybody a website because we gave you the RSS feed, but we didn't have a website.
Right.
But everyone's like, hey, we just host this. Then you show the transcripts. That's going to help us show up on Google. It's going to help us show up in Bing, which then goes into ChatGPT and Gemini and all of the above. And so that was super important for us as well to get that out there. So it's awesome that you're using it. And so you brought your own custom domain, or is that you're using a subdomain on Jellypod right now?
Just using a subdomain, podcast.advancer.com.au. So, and then that's indexable content. And if you spinning the wheels on search and you're doing a lot with your console, you can actually prioritize that as well and really focus on that. And if you're pumping out like we are once a week, great, 7 to 8 minutes of content, there's a lot of transcript in there that can be, you can feed the search engines.
Totally. And also the other thing was on the mate. I thought that was so funny when I saw that in the comments that you were editing out the mates. The interesting thing, like the way that we built the system is, one, it revolves around two parts. It's, the hosts, who they are, what's the voice, what's their backstory that you've created, and then also the content that you want to talk about. And so it's honestly kind of like a real podcast. I mean, you design your hosts, you give them some source material to talk about. And when you think about how people like talk to each other, the things that impact that conversation is going to be their backstory, but also their voice. And so a lot of places where I saw people that are thinking about AI, you give them a voice, but then the way the words that they choose don't match that voice. I'm like, well, that doesn't make sense. I mean, if you're Australian, you have to put in mate here and there, but for it to be too many times and you're editing it out. We're trying to work on that. So if you're making edits consistently week over week, we learn that. And then the next podcast will hopefully take those learnings about what you're consistently changing every week and then actually make that next podcast better. So you have fewer of those edits in the future.
I've noticed that it's going from sort of 10 to 8 to 6, weekly. So yeah, I'm definitely noticing that. Yeah.
That's awesome. So cool. So, and I don't think you really talked about it much, but what is the topic of the podcast that you create? So it's just AI news or?
Yeah, it's basically the things I want to listen to, and I don't get around to scraping my emails and scraping the web. And I sort of then get it from a chapter in a podcast from the States like Prof G or, something that just comes in as a piece. And so, yeah, it's the latest LLM news about what's happening with China, especially. It's I suppose, what's hot, what's happening in the investment space. Being a VC, I'm always interested in valuations and what's going on from, especially around liquidity as well, because there's a lot of money pouring in, but where's the liquidity events of AI? And then we look at people, the changes, who's in, who's out, what's happening, and we have a chapter on that. And then we have a bit of a sort of a, at the end, the weird and the wacky and the wonderful. And that basically is just something that people haven't thought of. And sometimes we actually start with that. Sometimes the Jellypod LLM actually pushes that to the front and talks about math Olympiads and things like that, which was last week first, which is, it's cool because it's a kind of, we want to do it so that I'm actually recorded and an AI is sort of talking to my avatar AI. I think that's a really good sort of place to be. Like you have one that's half AI, let's call it, which is me, and then another one fully invented. And we riff. And what Jellypod has done is actually then join the riff party. And it's actually sort of going, well, that's cool. So I'm going to put that first and things like that. And I just leave it in there and it runs really well. So yeah, it's really cool.
That's so cool. I mean, I can see it. I mean, it really makes me happy to see it in your eyes and how you're talking about the platform, to have somebody so, passionate about it. Jellypod's been around now, at least in the current form, little under a year, like 9 months or so. And hearing that it's going around in the circles and the startup circles and passionate about it, it's really cool. I mean, this is my first startup. And so it's an exciting journey and challenging at times, but seeing posts like that on LinkedIn, like you, and it's what makes it all worth it. So it's cool.
Well, and I think, in terms of your growth and stuff like that, looking at about 2,000 deals myself a year, we look at Y Combinator, YC, and we look at a lot of different, incoming, opportunities through Sprint. I think Jellypod's got a great, positioning in the market. It's got a great TAM, SAM and SOM. You've got a great addressable market opportunity. And I think we're on the cusp of conservative, sort of enterprises using practical solutions like Jellypod or Lovable, like who would have thought 10 months ago as well, like Lovable, with a name like Lovable, which sounds a bit like a dating site,
right,
has a 1.8 bill valuation, just raised 200 off a sell and things like that. So within 12 months, we've got vibe coding, we've got Jellypod with the Gen AI piece with producing what you're doing brilliantly, and a lot of these organizations are now about to, I think, literally leap at this. I've got a client already who wants to do a Jellypod. He's a very successful company in the automotive space, and he wants him and myself to actually do what we're doing for the AI Intelligence podcast, to update both his customers but also his staff, and also about the latest release. He's got 9 different OEM brands, automotive brands, and there's something coming out every week. And we're going to use the same principles there. So clients are starting to really, in my world, really dive in and embrace it. So yeah, it's super cool.
Oh, that's super cool. Yeah, let me know if you need any help specifically from me, some white glove, whatever, just to get that up and running. Always available. So
sounds awesome. I might hit you up for some more credits, Pearson. I need some more credits at the moment, but yeah, all good.
Yeah.
I'll reach out. Yeah, for sure.
Awesome. Yeah, that's a good problem to have. I mean, and I always like to ask this question just because it makes me, I don't know, I'm interested. What's the one thing about Jellypod that won you over? What was the one thing that really was a game changer for you?
Again, back to the VC, product market fit, in terms of not overcooking the UI and UX. Obviously, below the scenes, a bit like a duck on water, there's a lot going on below the scenes.
Right.
What you've done above the fold, we call it, is basically you've given a very simple, very easy, no bug onboarding process that's just super cool to generate. Being an old web designer as well, you're using a lot of the principles from many, many years ago, which is basically the eye tracks in from the left to right. You've got generate, a big yellow, orange button on the right. You've got a lot of good UX and UI parameters in there, white backgrounds with black text and things like that. So that, without knowing, I've got a lot of bias in that area, having been a web guy and an SEO guy and understanding usability and stuff like that. The onboarding was very, very simple and very, very easy. And within minutes, I generated something. So to me, I don't have a lot of time and I just want to get in there and crack on. And it's been seamless. And literally, I know it's going to, populate to Spotify for me. And, I can just get on and go to work. And what you've done brilliantly is keep it simple to get cracking. And you've got a great platform as your foundation, minimum viable MVP. You moved on from that, but product market fit platform, right? The other thing is I use 11 Labs a lot, and they've got a good Twilio integration with 11 Labs. Very simple. If you want to do SIP trunking, it's called. With 11 Labs, you just go up and use it and turn it on and hook it up. It's all done. It's a bit like that with Jellypod. And you've got the voices, I believe, you can pull down. You've actually got you've got those sort of features. So I'm a big fan of platforms that are really simple but have a lot of they're very dynamic behind the scenes, and you can tell that.
No, thanks. Thanks. No, it means a lot. And is there something that we don't have on Jellypod today that would be that you're just like wanting us to build, or something that is lacking in some area? I'm curious.
Yeah, I'll put it to again. I'll put my VC hat on here as well. Like, sometimes you don't need to build for the sake of building. Like you get the wish list in from the clients, and you go to your teams and you do your sprints, right? And you prioritize those lists, and there's 15 or 50 things to do. It's sometimes the clients that sort of talk the most, they get pushed up, and well, we need that feature built. It might be like, hey Gen, we need hey Gen avatars built in there tomorrow, and things like that. I actually think sometimes the most successful platforms are the ones that don't race ahead of actually what is achievable, and they don't go down rabbit holes, we call it, of product, and they just go out there and do their GDM. They execute on the GDM, and they basically just build customer base and then go to the next stage. Then they can build avatars when you raise 100 mil in the next round type thing. So you know what I mean? Like it's I often think so. I would actually say at the moment for me and the state that most organizations in the mainstream are is it's pretty cool. There's definitely features in there you could add, but I can just get on and do it and populate it and be done. So again, this concierging white glove sort of thing, that's where the surprise and delight kicks in, because you release a feature in 3 months and I'm like, wow, that's super cool. Didn't expect that. But yeah, like I'm pretty, even though I'm like in the space and pretty, looking at a lot of stuff, I actually think you need a great baseline and foundation. So yeah, you've got that.
Thank you. It means a lot. I just really appreciate you reaching out, or hopping onto this call with me. And one of the last things that I just always liked asking people was, if you were to describe Jellypod in a single sentence, how would you describe Jellypod?
Yeah, that's a really good one. So yeah, you've caught me off guard there. But it basically, look, I actually think that it makes creating easier, and it's making creating easier and giving back more time. Like to me, being busy, like I just need to go in there, recording on Riverside and sitting and booking in a podcast and going through it, and then that gets uploaded to the producers to trim and cut, and then a week later it comes out. It's making creating easier by just I can hit the button and I'm gone, and another episode's done. It's just brilliant.
Well, awesome. Yeah, I think that's a perfect line. I mean, it's great. So it was just really good talking and meeting you. If you need anything from me, message me in the support, or you have my email.
Yeah, cool. Will
Just
do.
some credits, need some help
I
on
will.
anything. Please do.
I'll reach out for some credits. Yeah, I'm demoing today to 3 clients today.
No way.
Jellypod. So yeah, like yeah, it's starting to really become a key part of they again, a lot of clients want to do they want to do podcasts, they've been meaning to do it, and then this GEO thing as we talked about. So yeah, I will do. You'll be hearing from me, mate.
Awesome. Yeah, the Australian market's been great for us too. So I have to make it over there one time. I've never been. So
you will. We'll take care of you. We'll look after you, show you around. It's a great country.
Awesome. Thanks so much. Well, I'll talk to you soon, and yeah, have a great rest of your day.
Awesome. Cheers, Pearson. Great to see you, mate. Cheers, bye.
Yeah.